what that feels like.
I can't share my screen either, but
give me one tick. I'll fix that for you.
as you do that, I will kick off and say welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the April 2024 public board meeting. As soon as I can share can I share?
You sure can.
All right, coolio. Wrong. Let's find which tab it is. That one. Here we go. Yep. All right. All right. Sorry, Zoom interface is messing with me. I'm sharing. All right. Welcome to the April 2024 public board meeting. I will start with a quick roll call according to the names in front of me. Looking for them. Kevin.
Here.
Ricardo.
Here.
Matt. Matt, you have to say what?
Hello.
Am I here?
It's really quiet.
Really faint. You'll have to speak up.
Everybody's mic just messed up today.
Matt, you are here?
Well, we've
Not
seen it.
vigorously.
I am. Zoom did me the favor of putting my input level for my mic to 0 when I joined, which it does every once in a while to be helpful.
That's on purpose.
It does it enough that I know to go check it when I am unmuted, but still cannot be heard.
I'll let you sort that out. Sam?
I'm here.
Bill?
In honor of cheerleading, here.
Steve?
I am here.
And I am here as well. That's all of us. We also have from the OWASP Foundation, Andrew, Dawn, Jason, Star. Welcome. Left to introduce you in a few moments. Kelly and Lauren. And we also have Martin and Scott joining us as well. Andrew, do we not have anyone from charity this week?
No, I actually have a video from them. So we'll just watch the video to read in the management report. Scott is here and would like a change to the agenda to present on project funding. Would that be possible to squeeze in this month, or shall we try to get it done in May?
Can I stick a 30-second pin in that, because I need to read the conflict of interest and antitrust statement. As you all know, we are an X509V3 non-profit. What did I say? No.
It's a 5013C.
Yes.
C3.
I
PO.
talking about digital certificates too much lately. Yes, we are that. As the board consists of individuals from many competing organizations, the OWASP and the board must abide by all relevant antitrust competition and competition laws. We need to avoid any actual and perceived conflicts of interest, antitrust concerns, federal, etc., etc., etc. Any conflicts of interest, board members must disclose this conflict, and if relevant, recuse yourself from discussion and or voting if it is relevant. So please do that as comes necessary. Now we can talk about changes to the agenda. As you know, to be able to actually change the agenda as opposed to just tagging on a discussion on the other business, we do need a 2/3 affirmative motion to change the agenda. Andrew, what is the actual topic?
So Scott, can you just briefly describe what you're going to talk about?
Yeah, I can briefly describe it. It was based on some of the discussions that Andrew, you and I had, and with other members of the program team, which was to discuss the approach that we're taking with the LLM group, which has gotten a lot of interest in funding from third parties, and wanted to just outline what we're looking to do in terms of how we're approaching it from a budget first perspective, and talk about the right approach to be able to take funds appropriately for the organization and support that project and the organization as well.
So this is a project funding discussion.
Project funding discussion. So this would be specifically for the project funding, where we've got folks who are looking to put funding into the project.
I would support that. Is there a second?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll
add this-
second that.
Whoa. Who said that?
Steve.
Steve, okay.
Just to be clear, we're voting on adding this to the agenda, just to be clear. Kevin,
Yes.
Ricardo,
Yes.
Matt? Your mouth voiced yes, your sound said nothing.
Yeah, Matt, sorry, I can't see your buds. I'm gonna need a yes or no.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay, Sam,
Okay.
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
and a yes for me.
Thank you. So I'll let you figure out where you want to put that in the overall agenda, but we do actually have Glue Up coming for a demo. They'll be here in about 20 minutes, I think.
All right. I suggest we put it as the first topic after other things.
Yeah. So at the
Right.
end.
First topic of the new business, either before or after, probably after Glue Up.
Okay. Do you want to, shall we just go through the board summary and the financial?
For that, we need to vote on approval of the minutes. Has
Yep.
everyone had a chance to read the March minutes? All right, like to read them into the record, get a vote of approval according to the names in front of me. Kevin,
Yes.
Ricardo,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
and a yes from me as well. Also read yes, Dawn.
Just, I sent you a message in case you didn't see it because it was right before. I put all the vote history except for those votes that were 2-0 because a lot of people abstained. And I think Andrew's checking to see if they're legit votes because it's 2-0. So just an FYI, I haven't updated that so everyone knows that.
All right, for the record, we did just have that discussion about whether they're valid or not. Because we had quorum, it should be valid, but if there are concerns to check that out, the validity,
Yeah.
that's fine.
All right, so do you want me to just add them to the voting history? And then if it's not, I can always remove them?
Yes.
I'll defer to Secretary, Mr. Secretary for that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Also need to read into the record the e-vote that we took a couple of weeks ago regarding rescheduling this meeting to today instead of yesterday due to the Passover holiday, and thank you all for that. The vote was unanimous on that. So just reading that in. And now, Andrew, I'll pass it on to you for the executive report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can you see the screen where you can see the approval of minutes and things like that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, I've got a couple of staff appointments, and this will be the last of the staff appointments for a long time. So please welcome Star Brown, Director of Projects, and Christian Capellan. He's going to be our IT contractor. Now, Christian's not here, so Star, please just introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Star Brown, and I am super excited to be here and help nurture projects into their future. My background is I've basically been in or around computer hardware and software sales for the last 22 years. Prior to that, I was with hosting and ISP services out of Atlanta, and I've been touching computers professionally since 1998. Esports and education is one of my passions, as well as just growing community and talking to people and really engaging with them in an authentic way. Losing my voice.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Star. That's so we have the Star will be basically working on a 90-day plan, meeting with our community, focusing pretty much solely on projects. So huge change of direction for us. Went to the projects committee this morning. We're going going to make sure that we include the community in everything we do. And so Star will be meeting with the flagship project and production project leaders, and as well as introducing herself to all of the project leaders in general. Our goal is to use the board's strategic direction for projects as a bit of an early roadmap, but I can guarantee you, after talking with the project community, things will change. Plans survive only until you actually start to actually do them. So let's figure out what the best way forward is with our community. And obviously project funding was a huge discussion at the JFK meeting, and we definitely want to figure out good ways of making that happen. But we need to get our house in order first and foremost. And so a lot of IT infrastructure issues have come to light. And so Christian and Jason and Star are busy doing going through our inventory of projects, technology. We're going to be consolidating a few things, like for example, our DNS name hosting will go to Cloudflare, eliminating GoDaddy and Condor. That will consolidate all of our domain hosting at Cloudflare. And that's just one example of the duplication of effort that we've got in our infrastructure. We need to better get a handle on what we've got going on. On that basis, we also have a couple of challenges. Google, we're up to 10,000 accounts. We've deleted about 2,000 of them. Jason, what was the final number there?
Well, the number of accounts we currently have, I believe, from memory, was about 7,300 ballpark active right now. Well, active and some more recently suspended. We don't delete them right away in case they renew. We're also running out of Google storage space. We're down to about 12%, but I found a lot of, shall we say, abuses of that by certain members. So I'm lowering the individual quota to 200 gigabytes, which is more than sufficient for our community on the whole, and eliminating a bunch of extraneous shared drives, including, it turns out, 2 businesses and a university have been using us for their infrastructure. Surprise. So yeah, they've been notified they have 30 days, in one case 14 days, to get their multiple gigabytes of files off of our shared drives, or the shared drives will be deleted.
I'm sorry,
Boy.
Jason. Can you elaborate on that? Did you say multiple universities are using
One
Google?
university in Indonesia is using us to back up their entire courseware. It is the second largest shared drive we have. It's just a backup of their courseware. An Indonesian pharmaceutical firm has been using us to host their production database, and their patient data in Epic has been stored on a shared drive. And then a graphic design company has been using us for their client files. All have been notified to remove the files ASAP. So I have restricted OWASP members so they can no longer create shared drives. Only staff can create shared drives. We'll happily create shared drives for any project, event, or chapter that needs them. But good, nice.
Sam?
Yeah, just not Jason, on the 10,000 limit and on the size limit. Well, probably I can arrange a meeting with yourself and Andrew Van der Stock as well. Because I do have a contact who is an ex-board member, Sharif Mansour, who has contacted Google and who confirmed that Google will happily increase the 10,000 member limit if we require. So they will happily increase it as a part of their donation contribution to
that would be
OWASP
fantastic.
Foundation.
Although, yeah, that would be fantastic. I don't know that we need more space, because almost all of our we have a huge chunk of space that's just being flat out wasted.
Excellent,
But,
excellent.
we could
we still
definitely
have
use
some
more users.
Great.
Yeah. And so similarly, we're down to our last 25 seats at GitHub. So if anyone's got a GitHub representative, we would love to make contact with them. What we're going to do is we're going to delete old chapters, and hopefully that'll free up those seats. But that does take time, and it requires very special, like, you know, are they still an active chapter or not, before we can do that. Bumping into the 25 remaining seats means that chapters and projects that want to get created may not be able to get created with the leaders that they want. So we need to, I think honestly, we need to bump up in the number of seats pretty much straight away. So if anyone has any contacts at GitHub, we'd love to make contact with them.
I'd like to note Kelly wrote in chat that she has contacts there, I assume on the sponsor side. If that doesn't work, I can reach out to some people I know.
Okay, great. I wasn't aware that we actually had a seat limit. We have 1,200 repos. We don't seem to have a repo limit. We seem to have a seat limit. Okay, Staff Summit went off as a virtual event this year to save money. We had a lot of good outcomes. The operating plan is going to be the result of that, and that's nearly finalized. Once it's finalized, I'll present it to the board in the May meeting. But effectively what we did is we took the JFK discussions and then tried to figure out our programs for the year to meet some of those operationally. So hopefully the alignment there will actually produce some real outcomes. So that's the operating plan. We actually do need a new association management platform. A lot of this technology stuff has come to light by the fact that we've been doing a bit of a deep dive. So we've got Glue Up today. I've asked Jason to line up a demo with the product that Harold found called Tendency. I've asked Star to come up with a list of business requirements and also to define what our actual business flows are so that we actually understand what products could fill the need that we have. I do want to reserve some time for a discussion, and I'm glad Martin's here. The Portugal VAT has brought up a number of issues, one of which is we're not likely to have our VAT registration done in time for the conference. There's a number of steps that need to be taken both in the US and the EU entity. The EU entity needs to be resurrected for a little while. I know we talked about killing the EU entity in the JFK meeting, but we need it. So Lauren, what did you learn in today's taxback meeting?
I actually wanted to touch on that because you brought up a very important point. We had a taxback meeting this morning. Martin was on the call with us as well as Kelly. And we learned that if we were to run this through the Belgium entity, depending on how quickly we can get the files over to them, the documents that they require, we could have our Portuguese VAT number prior to our conference. Therefore, if we are looking at any penalties, it would be minor. If we ran this through our US entity, it could take 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, which is obviously no good. We want to do this legitimately. We want to do this properly. But we also need to resurrect the OWASP entity in Europe as a priority. What I'd like to do is appoint, well, Martin, you expressed an interest in becoming, getting back onto the directors list. Is that correct?
Just to start earlier. So the EU entity, and I have checked it with all the parties, it's still operational. There's nothing wrong with it, nothing to be resurrected. It's operational. We just didn't use it as an OWASP Foundation, but it still have. There has 3 members because I said, indeed, I want to step down, but these never have gone through. So I'm the 3 board members. So from that side, the EU entity is A, operational, and B, the most profitable and legal part to do that. And I said to Lauren, yes, I wanted to step down, but for the OWASP Foundation, I will stay on, and I will make sure that this happens legally and the best to the foundation.
Cool. So just to be aware, Martin, we need to do our 23 taxes and we need to appoint accountants in Belgium. What I'd like to do is connect with you after the meeting and pass the QuickBooks file to you so that we can get the accountants done and get our taxes filed.
The accountant, I called the accountant in the morning, so actually I cannot make it after this call because I have the paper election call for 2 hours right after this call. I called the accountant today, and he said from accountability or from financial accountability, OWASP Foundation has done all its due diligence. We are all good.
Okay, great. I do have the books. No one's done anything with them since we left virtual.
Yeah, but from the account perspective, this is not a problem yet.
Okay, great. So looks like we can get our act together pretty quickly. So
Yeah.
what I'll do is I'll make a time with you. I'm actually going on annual leave, but this is important. So I'll make a time with you tomorrow or Friday. If you just let me know via email after this when you're available, and I'll make time with you.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I use your schedule system. It's okay. The ED at the calendar.
Yes. Actually, that will block because I've got an annual leave blockage in it. Let's just say that I have nothing in my calendar. Whatever time is good for you is good for me.
Okay, good. Dawn has her hand raised.
Andrew? Okay,
Yes.
for me to, okay, so just since you're talking about this, we also got the information back regarding the Ireland penalty we received.
Mm-hmm.
It is saying because that penalty we received, 5,000 and whatever, is because we didn't file the taxes. So I sent you a form that needs to be signed today.
Okay.
And then I can pay that and then pay plus we have to pay a bill of tax back besides, and then they'll move forward. But that's what the
Okay.
penalty's from.
Okay, no worries. So what Dawn's referring to is that we actually received a letter. There it is, a letter from the Irish Tax Authority, which we only just received, and it does come back down to that we need to make sure that we've got accountants appointed. So Martin, I'll make sure that we work with the accountants that you've, like Eddie at SR Fiduciary, to take over our bookkeeping as well.
So for the tax pack, actually, they sound very legitimate and knowledgeable about European tax laws.
Mm-hmm.
They're based also in Europe, the people we talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a rocket science. So what it is, we raise VAT over the tickets. So you have to collect how much VAT then we in for the government, because government gets the tax, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you have expenses, you also pay taxes. And then you can even them out, and you only have to pay the difference. Either you get it from the government or you have to pay to the government.
Okay.
It's very easy. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're doing it legally, and it sounds like we've got that under control, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
As the board might have questions around the European entity. Does anyone have any questions? Sounds like we've got a plan forward. Okay. If you do have any questions, basically, Bill, whilst I'm on annual leave, I'm going to need you to work with the staff to sign things on my behalf whilst I'm away. We probably do need to change the signatory policy at some point to basically make that actually documented somewhere. But as directors, any of you can sign on behalf of the foundation. It's just normally it's the executive director who does the majority of the signing operationally. So Dawn, if we get things that need to be signed whilst I'm away, I will sign the one that you mentioned. But if you could work with Bill on getting signatories.
Is that, that's finance stuff. What about agreements? Is that him? Was that Avi?
Avi, Bill?
Who wants to do like co-marketing, things like that? I know the finance go to Bill. Who wants to do the co-marketing and all that stuff?
Yeah, I can take that. Just give me enough context to what I'm signing.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so sorry, I've just let someone in from GlueUp. Monday, we've been approved for the nonprofit plan. It only took 3 goes. It was one of those things where what has happened is that the OWASP Foundation has 2 different names, one of which is the one that Delaware knows us by, and one of which is the one that the IRS knows us by. And that was a mistake that was made back in 2004. So at some point when we get our registrar details sorted with the Delaware tax authorities, we will change our name to be the same everywhere. And so we will become probably just not the OWASP Foundation Inc., just OWASP Foundation Inc. Because that's what our bank is named, and that's what Delaware knows us as. So the only people who really need to know this name change is the IRS. So 2 out of 3 wins the battle, basically. Okay. And so for the board members like Kevin, who are a little bit concerned about Monday.com pretending to be me, it is real. Please do sign up. You'll be able to see the status of tasks in a read-only fashion. Feel free to raise them with me. I'd rather not have the staff having 8 bosses. Please work through the chair, sorry, the executive director wherever possible. Operations, we're at the RSA conference. This is turning out to be a very expensive conference for us, and so that's going to limit our opportunities to go to other conferences this year. We need to stick within our budget. So anyway, start the process for the OWASP Awards, and I'll just run through
Just one other thing, Andrew. Yeah, this is chapters. The GitHub thing, since it's only 25, that could stop me as soon as next week of opening chapters, just so you know that. Because
Yeah.
it is, so it could affect it as of next week that I can't open.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it also affects projects as well. So, yep, Arby.
As long as you mentioned RSA, just want to get clarification. There is a vendor doing it in a OWASP OWASP sponsored party at
I believe
RSA.
that's actually Scott might know about that.
Good ask. Yeah.
I believe that's an LLM party. Is that right, Scott?
Yeah, that is a vendor who is hosting an LLM group party.
Good.
So handy that we've actually got Scott on the call. In the future, Scott, what I'd like to do is make sure that you're a part of the early planning so that we're not surprised by finding out that we've got an OWASP event like a couple of weeks before the actual RSA thing. I think none of this is very difficult. It's just let's get involved much earlier together.
Yeah, for sure. This came up as sort of a short-term opportunity. So I think, and I've been engaged in it on a short basis. So yeah, definitely in the future, I think that would be the intent.
Yeah, Dawn?
Okay, a question. Is this being attached to, because I see that you registered 4 people under the foundation with our tickets. Is this bill for this party being attached to us also?
No.
Okay, so how does it, who's paying it? Like, how does this work?
Yeah, so one of the members volunteered to host a event at their at a location at their cost for.
Oh, so it's not on the RS, it's not, the location isn't at the RSA conference.
No, it's offsite.
Okay, thank you.
There is another thing, Dawn. I'll hook up with you and Scott after the call, which is the donation process. We'll talk about that stuff there.
Okay,
Sam?
I have a hard stop at 1. I have an appointment, so
Okay.
I won't be available right after the call.
Okay. Sam?
Yeah, for RSA, it would be good to have a page published under OWASP News to say that OWASP is at RSA this year, with indication where we are, our booth number, and also if anyone from the directors or anyone from the OWASP Foundation, any of our project leaders or chapter leaders are presenting a talk, also highlighted in that news article.
Okay.
I do Sam, sorry. I do social media posts at the start of the event. Like, we're at booth number, the talk, the board talk, and so on. Just FYI.
That's great, but it also would be good to have it on the news because lots of people are monitoring the news page.
Okay, we'll get that done. Okay, here's the finance report because I do want to get to glue up before the top of the hour.
Oh, just wanting to go over the OWASP March management report. So going through, we're going to first start with the statement of financial position. I just wanted to point out a few key takeaways. It does look like the organization did have a cash increase of $77,000 for the month of March, even after moving $100,000 into the CD account, so that's really good. I also wanted to point out that we now have AR on the books as we have started invoicing through QuickBooks, which makes it easier to see what's actually coming in or projected to come in. Overall, it looks like the organization had a $360,000 increase in current assets, and this is mostly due to the funds held in PayPal. Those funds are from the Snowfrock and San Fran conference income. So we are now going to move into the statement of activity. We will just briefly go over the income for the month. So it looks like total income increased by $380,000, mostly due to, again, the conference income increase from Snowfrock and San Fran conference revenues coming in. I also wanted to point out the expenses for the month. It looks like we were down in community outreach this month, as well as conference expenses, which is not necessarily a bad thing, and also down in professional fees for the month. So overall, it looks like total expenses were down, which is favorable. We do want our expenses to be lower and our revenues to be high, so that's good. Moving into the budget versus actuals, just wanted to let you guys know that, again, conference revenue is up as of right now with the projected budget of $100,000. We are sitting at $684,000 year to date. And again, we did make an adjustment to the cash flow forecast, so we'll talk about that when we get to the cash flow forecast. I also wanted to point out that the donations year to date are down by $42,000 from the budget. So just wanted to point that out there. And it does look like the membership income is up by $88,000, which is good. So overall, we had a total revenue increase of $707,000. Mostly contributing to the conference income coming in sooner than anticipated. So that is favorable towards the budget. Let's see. If you look at year to date, community outreach looks like we're a little bit over, but that's not a major point. Let's see. Scrolling down, looks like the project expenses. We are unfavorable to the budget in this aspect by $88,000 due to not budgeting for services and summit expenses. So maybe we need to look into budgeting for those particular line items for the next fiscal year, but as of right now, it's not a high demand to do so. So just to reiterate, overall, your total expenses year to date are highly favorable towards your budget since you are under budget by $16,000. So nothing to stress out there. So now that we've gone through the budget, we're going to go and flip over into the statement of cash flow. Just one thing that I did want to point out again or reiterate is that the year-to-date budget for the revenue was $100,000, with us receiving nearly $500,000 in the month of March. We did deduct some of that revenue from July just to keep the cash flows in line. So we did take out some of that revenue from July to keep the cash flow in line. So you guys are still in a strong position for the rest of the year, leveling out at $2.1 million by the end of the year. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And we'd be happy to answer any questions that you or the board may have. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Okay, so just very briefly, the project summit, we will do something about maybe trying to arrange some the sponsorship for the actual scene, because it is unbudgeted. If we plan to run the project summits on a regular basis in the future, we need to run them like a proper event. But obviously they're going to be a bit harder to get sponsorship for, so we'll try to keep expenses under control this year. We do actually have Patrick Sanahan from Glue Up. We're a little bit running late compared to when I told him to join. Are there any questions by the board on the finances before we move on?
Nope.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is hand it over to Patrick. We've got Eric Schmidt, who's the CEO as well. So Patrick, I'm going to make you a co-host so you can share your screen, but please introduce Glue Up and yeah.
Sure, I'll introduce myself and then I'll tee it up for Eric and then I'll do a demo. So my name's Pat Shanahan. I've been with Glue Up for just under 4 years. We're headquartered in McLean, Virginia, the Delmarva area. And with me is our founder and CEO, Eric Schmidt. We're happy to talk about how we can positively impact the organization.
Cool. So Eric, can you just give yourself a quick intro as well?
Of course, absolutely. Thanks for letting us join, and appreciate you all taking the time to listen to what Glue Up is all about. Yeah, we started Glue Up 11 years ago out of the actually the experience that myself and my co-founder had of building a group of entrepreneurs to about a 50,000 person network across a couple different regions, and realized that we didn't have the technology to continue to bring people together the way we would like, and so therefore Glue Up got started, and 11 years later here we are, working with great organizations throughout the world. And of course, as you'll hopefully see in a little bit here, we spend a lot of time on the technology side thinking about user experience, thinking about how our customers are using the product to achieve their mission. And that's really what we're all about. Being here obviously in the Washington, D.C. area these days, we obviously are talking a lot about the same things that you guys probably are on a regular basis as it relates to security, and certainly the threats that exist globally, unfortunately, these days. So, again, I know that there'll be some questions later on, but we're happy to answer the ones that we can. I know you guys are much smarter in many of these arenas than both myself and Pat probably combined, but we will do our best to make sure that we get you the answers you need. I'm going to send it back over to Pat, and I see a hand up from Jason here.
Yeah, I just want to bring up, since we are, I'm conscious of the fact that you guys are on short time here. I wanted to just give you a spoiler that the biggest things that I'm aware of that we're looking for, aside from managing individual members at potentially at multiple tiers, is managing chapters and events through the same platform, as well as potentially website solution, and what technology is backing it. Those are big items that we're looking at. I don't know if anyone has anything else to add to that list.
No problem. We got you covered on all those aspects. Cool.
So Patrick, do you want to do your demo?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Appreciate the intro, Eric. And thanks to everybody. Thanks, Andrew. So at our core, when we started, it was really CRM with event management, email marketing, and surveys, pretty much the capabilities that were needed at the time. And as the organization grew, we discovered that being very progressive with the software is an aspect that would, help us move forward to obtain what we have now, which is thousands of clients globally across 14 offices and many regions. These are the modules that we have at the core, of course, of the CRM, and then membership management workflows. Typically, we're able to automate a lot of those aspects, and even managing your corporate partners, your corporate sponsors, is an aspect it's a real benefit actually of GlueUp. We'll talk about event management. We got our start there, so that continues to be enhanced. We have session registration. We also have 2 mobile apps, and administrative side apps. This is really important for, I would say, chapters. And as we talk about the different regions that you operate, we're seeing, of course, that certain areas in terms of the member engagement community app, that's one of the, basically they're just using the app more so than the desktop. But we'll look at the desktop version, and of course we have our own finance gateway. We have the entire globe covered in terms of the ways that we can get the money from different regions, and then of course email marketing and surveys. So that's all included. Typically, what we're doing is really streamlining the organization, and then as you saw, sort of the core of what we can do, including websites, which are actually optional. Beyond that, we actually, through learning about really the biggest challenge that we had seen, which is the disparate nature of just, you know, any organization with a tier, like anything that has a hierarchy of tiers, and that's translated to us taking our core product and actually setting it up so that there's multiple tiers that are nested accounts, with a certain level of the abilities that we want to pick and choose as administrator from the umbrella level, and deploy at the ground level for you know, the chapters and the different regions, maybe an overseer of a region. Here's a picture of like the mobile app. This would be white labeled for OWASP, and put and managed in the Play Store and the App Store, as well as the GlueUp Manager app, which is for the administrators. Things like being able to check people into events and things like that. Very sophisticated when it comes to event management, which we'll harken on a little bit. And then we'll dive right into the platform now. So there's 2 sides of the house, really. There's the administrative backend, and then we, of course, have the member portal side. We'll go into both sides in a little bit of detail. In terms of the backend here, it's a very dashboard-driven environment, and I'm an admin, so I see absolutely everything. There's reports parked right in the middle, and then you see the modules, which pretty much mirror that slide that I was showing you in terms of you know, the aspects of what we're able to help, you know, in terms of efficiency and deploying all the things that associations need to manage and grow. Just know that there are multiple roles and permissions, so the visibility structure that we have, not only from a standpoint of just the umbrella account, as we will refer to it, but also being able to define roles at any level within that, so that as chapter leaders come and go, you're able to, you know, put them in at the right level, giving them the right level of access and visibility within their own scope of their chapter. So what we're looking at here is the contact section. This is where the CRM is. That's fully customizable in our settings section. So we have like these 6 sections: the account settings, that's our branding, our social media, how things can be replicated. And, you know, when you launch an event, you want to share it on social, so you don't want to have to hard code that every time. A lot about GlueUp is being able to do things with fewer clicks or duplicate previous efforts if there's similarities between them, and be able to get things to market very quickly. I'll give you a quick picture of a CRM listing here. So this is myself. It's a person in here. You can see that I'm a member. Been a speaker, that I'm subscribing to emails from our campaigns module, that I'm on a committee. And then on this is an activity timeline. So anything that's been done to this individual, or that you know, anyone who's an administrator you know, has done, will be there. The paid membership, you'll see a whole activity timeline. And then the profile information is really just the I would say the CRM fields that you put in when you first or on an ongoing basis want to modify an account. That really translates to being able to target properly, because all of those CRM fields are drop downs within this contact section, so that you can create, you know, lists that you're going to use frequently. Those could be regions, those could be just non-members if we just wanted to list those. So it's the combined member and non-member CRM listing there. Just wanted to show this very briefly. Amazon, it's a corporate profile. We can see the entire, you know, history of what's been going on with their sponsorship, with them being a supporter, if needs be. Continuing on, event management, I'll harken back on this in just a moment, but we consider ourselves in the campaigns model to be similar to look at a Constant Contact, or, you know, a MailChimp, a SurveyMonkey, except, you know, since we're not a product-led growth strategy platform, we tend to only have, you know, valid organizations that are sending valid marketing emails with a lower unsubscribe rate, and therefore deliverability is really great. This is the membership workflow manager, so where we can see our members, where we can review applications. And of course, the phases of this are all determined by the membership setup, which will be very easy to do. Finance, so we have our own native gateway that's on the proposal. You'll be able to pull down information. If you're using QuickBooks Online, this will be streamlessly flowing through into the accounting system. And of course, payment reporting. So for any origin, if it's a custom invoice type for a supporter, like a corporate supporter, very easy to kick out invoices. You can even set it up so that it's not able to be paid by certain types of payment methods. Then this is the community section, file sharing area within that. Community is really for public, private, or invite-based groups of all types. Obviously, you have a lot of programming, and so that could mirror that, and you know, that's something that can also be enhanced as things go along. So here's chapters, regions, however we want to architect this to mirror and enhance the way that you're doing this, we can do. Onward in the member portal, which, you know, somebody will have a login, or they're going to, you know, download the app, which it encourages them to do, which it'll encourage them to download the OWASP app in this case. We find this chronological roll-up similar to like a social network. People can share videos, documents, photos, everybody has a business card that they can share to others. There's direct chat and scheduling, but it's more or less a chronological roll-up of what the visibility structure that has been determined is there. And so if I'm in a private group, I'll see that. I have my own file repository. I can be collaborating on the go. And as we discuss, you know, the regional nature of global organizations, this is a huge asset that we've found lots of happy customers utilizing, because they're able to do this on the go and not maybe have to set meetings, and they're just in constant communication together. There's a member directory. All of this, what's available there, the filters and so forth are from the settings from the back end. And then events, they have an entire history of all of their events, as well as, you know, options, upcoming events to register. They can manage their membership as well from here, see all of their invoices, and manage their own communication preferences. Back to this part. Any questions about the platform, just really quickly as I pull this up?
Yeah, real quick. You showed the events. Is that like all the events? Like if I'm only interested in like a particular chapter's events, could I just see that, or?
Absolutely. They're able to toggle through. So the way that we're set up is they're as an end user, they're just going to be able to toggle through the chapter and switch between their chapter and the umbrella of the organization. However we want to set this up, essentially we're able to establish that visibility structure.
And there's I assume there's APIs that provide a lot of this data programmatically as well outside the platform.
Yes, we have APIs that we can show you guys. You can look at it, see what's available there in terms of being able to get data out.
All right, Jason.
What technology stack is this running on? I mean, is this like Drupal? Is this Django? Is this something custom? What is this running on?
Yeah, we built everything custom from scratch. On the back end, you know, where we have Java, we have Mongo and MySQL, PHP mid layer, which we're in the process of getting rid of at the moment. Some JavaScript and you know, some other front end tools. But we built everything from scratch. So our team has done it in-house.
And then, so here's an example of a website that we built. So as you notice, maybe in the modules, you're not seeing that we're a content management system. And the reason that we've done that is just keeping up with the Joneses. We feel there's a lot more upside to developing the backend functionality out of the box to achieve this fluidity of everything aggregate from chapters and just everybody being on the same page operatively. And so with this, we're using Drupal for websites. Some organizations, they prefer to just build their own website. We have widgets that just integrate into the website front end with iframes for that, or you could use the APIs to do it from that standpoint. So here's a chapter-based org that you know, we've got websites that are going live currently. Underneath of this, they didn't elect to do a map or anything here. They just wanted that, and so that's how we designed the websites for most of our customers via a template there. And so I just wanted to talk briefly about how do we actually do this for such large scale organizations efficiently. We've certainly gotten better at it over the last 4 years. It's amazing because now we've grown so much that we literally have trainings every single day available in 3 different regions around the globe, which is part of the toolkit for after go live. But phase 1, if we break this down, is we're setting up the umbrella and sort of the chapters themselves, as well as their the CRM fields, because the CRM fields are going to mirror each other. You don't want chapter leaders to have access to them. We want to have control of that. So we build that out for our customers. We build out the app for the Play Store and the App Store, and then of course we discuss what exactly is it. It seems that basically the chapter pages with OWASP are one pagers. We've done that as well, and essentially their upcoming meetings, their local newsletter, all the things that they want to have published out front are capable, and we can achieve that, as well as a community structure.
Sam?
Yeah, just a couple of questions on the chapters functionality, Patrick, that you are describing. As you know, with OWASP, if I compare it with, for example, meetup groups, right, what you're showing that on the live demo, a question I have, because when meetup we have group members, right? So these I will say with the chapter members or group members, but these are not necessarily OWASP members. So we also have paid members. Will your system actually allow us to distinguish different types of memberships inside chapters? So people who are community members and people who are paid members of OWASP? That's question number 1. And I think that's that's a kind of a question around the chapters. And obviously the second question is also around the integration as well, in terms of the with other third-party systems, because obviously again, assuming can we pull the data automatically from things like Meetup, Eventbrite, and other systems that we're using?
Good question. I'll answer the first one first. So with that, it's all about the the ability to gain access. So we're able to take groups, and we can have, by way of our architecture, it will be a membership type, but then we would have it set up so that that membership type, it only has a certain level of visibility, and we can determine the type of groups that there would be in. So we can set it up so that they're not really able to view kind of things that a full member would be able to view, and that's all determined by the way that we set up our community group. And then to your second question, currently with Meetup, there's no integration in place. We're a very progressive company. If it makes sense, we can explore it.
Yeah, and let me mention one more thing going back to your first question. In regards to the membership types, so you can have all kinds of membership types built into the platform at different levels. So if you want to have a free membership type that then rolls up to obviously the national or global level, that's also possible. But being able to have the paid version versus the free version, no problem. Pat, you want to go to the membership types just to walk through that workflow? And within this, again, and I know Pat mentioned it, a key thing for us is how do we automate as much as possible? Automation as it relates to memberships is extremely important, because nobody wants to spend a lot of time trying to go manually invoice people, trying to make sure that they didn't forget anybody. And so with this, you can automatically set all that up to run. And then you're able to manage everything on your side so that it's basically seamless. You can customize the language that's being sent from the membership platform. So at what stage, how many emails do we want to send out prior to somebody's membership expiring? All that will happen within here. And again, it's set up at the beginning so that, again, it's automated as you move down the line.
And to be clear, we're wanting to move away from our potpourri of dozens of systems into ideally one as much as possible. So migrating data off of some of the other systems like Meetup and whatever may be one thing, but we would not, operationally speaking, we would not want to be using this and Meetup. Our hope for an AMS would be something that phases out most of the rest of our stack, because multiple systems has not been serving as well.
We didn't speak too much on events, but it's a very robust platform for events. Typically, a lot of smaller organizations actually, they come straight off of a Meetup type of system because they discover this is very robust. It has 10 templates. You can duplicate things all the way down to the ticket. And the speed of deploying something, because of the chapter templates that we can provide, and then the administrative controls therein are going to make it so that we're beating to the same drum as a brand globally. And then of course this platform actually has multiple language support, both when it comes to the membership and of course on the phones. This is going to be driven by the selection of the language of the phone. But we can.
Why don't you go into an event?
We will do that.
And I see, I don't know if Sam, if that answers your question, I see your hand is still up, and Star, I think, I guess you're next.
Yeah, I do have one more question. And as you know, OWASP is all about application security, right? So I just want to say, obviously, this is a web-based application.
Yeah.
And this is exactly the kind of application that our foundation is trying to make sure is secured from vulnerabilities and attacks. Just want to understand what kind of security assurance you guys have undergone when building the site in terms of, penetration testing, secure code reviews.
Yeah,
in
good
terms
question.
of
I was
the
waiting
interest of-
for that one from this audience. But yes, so we run Cloudflare, obviously to make sure that at the higher level, everything is protected. We regularly do penetration tests. We regularly do, again, from our demo servers to all of our, application servers. So we're consistently doing that. We're always running new, different test modules. We do application, obviously, testing on ourselves. We're from the standpoint of a modern development shop, that's basically all the, the things that we're running to continue to keep up to date with our security. We have, again, professionals inside who obviously work on security with the DevOps side. And then, of course, on the application side, when we're doing development, not just at the beginning, but on a continual basis, consistently going back and making sure that, obviously we're protected. We know that unfortunately, in today's world, between Russia, China, and Vietnam, the DDoS attacks consistently keep coming. And, we just need to make sure we're at least one step ahead, and so far so good, knock on wood. But we're consistently trying to make sure we're really keeping up with what's going on. So Cloudflare has been, an amazing application for us. And, again, if there's anything else out there that you guys recommend, we are more than happy to look into it, because it is something that keeps me up at night. That's for sure.
Oh, we use Cloudflare. Yeah, we do use Cloudflare, actually.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah, so I noticed it's part of the login portal.
And Star, I think I see your hands up.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't a change in cost, but I think the Cloudflare answered my question. So,
yeah,
okay.
What is the pricing model, though? Like, I am curious about that.
Well, it's very capacity driven, since we worked with such a plethora of organizations, whether they're single entities, whether they're multi-tiered, and then what do they need beyond like the base, kind of backend and membership management, community. That some organizations don't want community, some don't elect to, for us to build a website or white label app. Generally, at our core, it's capacity driven. So, hosted on AWS, we have to be mindful of the average CRM profile across the entire globe, data storage aspect, and that's how we do our base pricing, essentially. That plus number of events and marketing emails, and then beyond that, just a number of add-ons to the platform.
So it fluctuates then, basically, from a month-to-month basis. The pricing could fluctuate.
No, it does not.
No, it doesn't. So Jason, I can fill you in on that. That's sort of our commercial in confidence. So I do have a proposal I can share with you behind the scenes.
Okay. Yeah, with me and Star, that would be good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, one other thing is important too, again, to sort of, one of the other, points you made there is we do regularly product releases. So, we're generally releasing something every week, on Sundays, usually, from, I guess, let's talk East Coast time, since I know people are in many different parts of the world. We do releases usually at 8 p.m. Sunday nights, or Sunday mornings, East Coast time. So that's our regular release schedule. Dawn?
Thank you. So my question is, excuse me, is about setting up reports. like, you might refer, we have chapter meetings, it might in your system refer to as another event. It's not a paid event. They have requirements every chapter to have so many meetings a year and different things like that. So is there an easy way for me to do reporting to track who's, being compliant and all that kind of stuff?
Yes. So again, and obviously I don't know the details of everything you're talking about there, but when it comes to, let's say, an annual meeting that needs to be attended, people generally have set it up. They obviously register for it. They check people in, and they can check people out too if they need to, using the tool. That can be the report from the sort of reporting aspect, which is, sort of the data side. Again, there's a lot of reports that you can pull from the system for the chapters, but also at the, at the global level, if you will.
Yeah, because right now we're about 270 chapters. So each one has to have 3 meetings a year. So I need to track that to see, type deal.
Yes, so we would be able to track that. In a easy way, since you're tracking 270 chapters. If there's not a ready solution, again, we can communicate, and figure out if there's an easier way to do it.
Yeah, when we move forward, I can show you what, it's not the perfect solution, what Meetup does, like how many chapters people had a year. It's not the best solution, but it's a quick way for me to, it's a start. It's not the best reporting. So maybe I could show you what we do there and then you can fine tune it. All
No
right.
problem. And I think as well as, as we move forward, I mean, again, we're constantly updating stuff. So as we, get feedback from folks, that's a big part of our development process. So if there's something that's not there, that's not working quite right, or you have suggestions on how to improve it, that's, perfectly, acceptable for us to get that feedback from you.
Eric, what Don is really talking about is a report which would show how many events were run by each chapter in the past 12 months.
That's not
basically, and then we can basically withdraw lines at all the chapters which had less than three events a year. We can then export them and say send them notifications saying, hey, you are not fulfilling the minimum requirements.
We've heard that before. Whether it's a threshold of number of members or something like events. So what's coming out, what we've been working on, so it's good that we're hearing this, is something that's very high level, that is just like a unified dashboard of kind of like the health checks, so metrics that you would want to see through that lens. So
sure. And so I just wanted to let the board know the reason why we're getting a presentation is it's well above my signing authority, and I just wanted to make sure that everyone's on board with our business requirements. I've asked Star to actually collect them and document them and make sure that any proposed solution meets them. So any time that you have a business requirement such as this, please feed them to Star.
My last question really quick is there a limit on how many attendees you can have in a meeting? I mean, an event. Is there a limit to that?
So there's a global limit, but that's, initially set up, but I don't think that will impact any of your, regular meetings. I mean, again, I don't know what your biggest event is that you guys are running, but
our 2 biggest events are our
AppSec.
global AppSecs. What's the usual attendance on those?
We're going to bust the 1,000 person limit for those. If we've got exceptions like those, then I don't mind Eventbrite, but I do want Eventbrite gone for chapter meetings.
I don't think that's an issue. That's not a problem at all. The reason I asked that, and again, when people start getting into the tens of thousands, right? I never want to promise somebody that we're going to be able to accomplish all the things when they're tens of thousands, because there's so many variables at that size of an event that based on where the hotel is, based on Wi-Fi, all these things. So I'm always very careful when we start talking about events in that range. But 1,000 people, that is not an issue.
What payment providers do you work with?
So it depends where we are in the world. So again, I don't know the specifics of how you guys have structured your payment collection, depending on where each of the chapters are. But you know, again, we have here in the US, there's a platform PayGauge. Internationally, we run Stripe through a lot of our markets, and then a couple other markets, depending on, you know, again, is Stripe available? If not, you know, in Africa, we have another platform there. So again, we have a whole list depending on where we're talking about, but we've spent a lot of time on payments because we know that that is a massive headache for any organization to be able to work through.
Does it have native tax support? And I'm sorry to interrupt. I see Kelly's hand was up.
Yeah, tax is one of the, we spend a lot of time on tax. VAT, again, in a lot of the markets that we're working in, it does automatically calculate that. If there are markets that, again, and we can look through the list and see if there's any places where we don't. But yes, we automatically bring that in, including in Canada, which seems to have an ever increasing challenge of tax collection and calculation. So,
Kelly?
Yeah, Eric, I was just wondering regarding the events, if what would be the max, I guess you could say, that this system would support?
so we've had our biggest event that's run on the platform was 20,000.
Okay, okay. That's good to know.
That's your target, Kelly.
That is my new target. No more 8,000.
So for
I was
Lauren
looking-
and Kelly, the event design features are much easier than what we have today.
Okay.
But also, Kelly, I do want to let you know that you know, I looked at the agenda, the current AppSec, a couple of them were published, and just looked at the agenda and didn't have time to like create that in GlueUp, but it's going to be really good looking. I saw the agenda. I did want to ask, you required the session registration? We have that.
Okay.
That was actually released last year, so that's very helpful. Being able to have people collect the, you know, pre-select so that you know the capacities and can sell the right amount of tickets for different sessions and stuff in a physical event.
Okay, great.
And collect feedback as well, Patrick. That's what we do.
The surveys as well are built in. You can automate the survey. So even if, you know, again, we know what happens at an event. Event is over and everybody's like, oh, thank God, event is over. Let me go take a week vacation. And then, you know, on to the next event. In this case, you can set up the survey to automatically be sent out at the end of the event. So it's automatically set up. Everybody can go on their vacation and good to go. The survey results can start coming in without actually having to be there in person to press the button.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Avi?
So you just dropped a really big, quite silently, you dropped a really big water balloon in the room. So it's not just event management from managing the event, but also the individual sessions and schedule and personalized schedules and so on.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
Correct.
First of all, that's really amazing. And I think you guys don't give enough credit to that feature.
So yeah, so and again, inside the app, one of the things I think, and again, thank you for pointing that out, is an event app inside the app. So again, a lot of our customers, they're running, let's say 100 events across a year, some case, you know, 500 events across a year, and each one of those events is inside the app, and then you can also drill down into that specific event. So everybody can get engaged within the event, but they can also then go out and participate in the global community, you know, that's available in the app as well.
So we can get off sched as well. That's
Yes.
great. Do you happen to, and I'm going to guess what the answer is here, but do you, as long as you're doing that, do you also have like a call for papers, call for presentations type of?
Those are the things that we don't have on the event side. So we don't have those. We have had people use like a separate registration form to collect some of that, but I'm not going to tell you it's going to be, you know, obviously built for that purpose.
Okay. So I'm just cognizant of the time. We've got a guest. Are there any final questions for GlueUp? Okay, Avi, meeting's yours. We've got the next agenda item.
Right.
Thank you, everyone.
Guys, have a
Thank
great
you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Andrew, that said, we did not actually finish with the rest of the executive report. Do you want to continue that, or?
In the interest of time, because I know there's an executive session as well, I would encourage the board to read the slides. They're actually updated. Are there any questions in relation to Lisbon, which is coming up really soon, that you can ask Lauren right now? Okay. Lauren, is there anything the board needs to know about Lisbon?
No, there's not.
Okay. So I would suggest let's move on to the next item.
All right. So the next item would be the newly added project funding topic. So Scott, I'd like to invite you to share your thoughts.
Sure, happy to share our thoughts. So I know I've spoken to a couple of folks here on the board and team here about this. Sort of the background here is that obviously with the AI focus around the LLM project, we've been getting a lot of interest around funding. We're also looking at it from an operating perspective in terms of the type of projects and what the project wants to go do, kind of looking forward, and have come up with a model that I've used previously to kind of looks at how do we incorporate partner funding as well as manage that. So I go through a couple of slides for the team to kind of give some context around that and show you kind of our approach. Is there anything you wanted to? Is there anything you wanted to add, Andrew?
No, I was just going to say I'd make you a co-host so you can actually present the slides.
Awesome, thank you.
Done.
So these are some slides that I had put together primarily to focus on, why are this is more from an outreach perspective, understanding what we're going after funding for, why we're going after funding. And so working with the team, I've also come to understand the different resources that OWASP kind of brings to the table. Some of them are not completely captured here, but we'll be revising that as we get more solidification around the newer infrastructure and services that the project is going to end up offering, as we've talked about in some of the earlier conversations. Fundamentally, we're looking to really fund things like outreach to non-OWASP forums, RSA, and other things that may not necessarily be part of an agenda, maybe a conference that OWASP may not even be at, as a way to kind of help deliver some of the message and get things out there. Subsidies to supporters for travel, things like co-writing efforts, specific research initiatives that we're looking at, both around data collection and also around some red teaming workshops that we're putting together. These are just some examples of the types of things that we're looking to fund that have been both interested by members who say, hey, we want to go do this, but we also recognize there has to be some energy, some funding behind it. So the approach that, if let's go forward, the approach that I typically take is really kind of looking at a bottoms-up operational budget. So coming from looking at how we can make these things scale, there's a couple of things that are important in terms of these funding efforts. One, I think it's important to recognize that it's helpful to have a target whenever you're going out and looking for funding. I'm not a big fan of just getting funding for funding's sake. So because you end up with dollars that you don't know, what am I going to do with these dollars? So there should be, there should be a goal toward what you're going to be spending on. So the approach that we're taking is we have 4 basic buckets to not complicate things too much, but really what we're going to do around operations, some standards, community participations, cost, outreach, and then initiatives is kind of where we package some things up. From that perspective, we end up with a more detailed budget, which is more of a spreadsheet than I have shown here. This is more for more broad consumption. And then we color code those based upon priority. So as you see, sort of the green progressions of green color helps us understand the priority. So based on the progress we hit toward our goal is going to help us understand how we may apply those dollars. And I think this is an effective way to help people who are looking to sponsor projects to understand how those money are going to be spent. And then also we have another slide that kind of talks about what they get for their awareness for their investment, where it comes to website mentions, whether it comes to promotion or recognition of their details. But the main focus here was really around how we're looking to budget this. So starting from a bottoms up perspective, if we get over this budget, then that becomes something that we can contribute back to the project or other projects that need funding and can consume that. And my conversations with Andrew, I think one of the things that we both share is that there's a need to spend it or lose it. I think that's an important part of it. I think there's also a percentage of this for the projects that just needs to be sort of an operating cost that maybe goes back to the foundation, whether it be a 15% or 20% kind of basis. So you're always feeding back into the foundation in terms of any of the projects. So the goal here would then to have this budget set aside based on this target number and whatever the achievements are to that for an annual budget, and then execute against that. The project team would then be responsible for working with the operating team, with the Andrew team, to make sure that we're expending those, burning those resources as it's aligned to our budgets. So that's sort of the approach that we're looking at right now. And since we're getting the interest from a number of companies wanting to do things to both up their profile in the AI space, it's an opportunity, I think, for us to, if everyone comes through on some of their funding, the ability to not only benefit the project, but also benefit OWASP and getting some top line sponsorship and dollars in. So that's sort of the approach that we're looking at taking with the sponsorship for the project specifically. With that, there's also, some benefit levels. There's 3 levels that we're looking at right now. One is obviously the OWASP corporate sponsors, as I understand talking to different folks, can allocate 10% of their corporate sponsorship to a particular project. And then there are things that they would effectively get in terms of the project, but we will recognize for their redirection of those funds. There are people who may be just silver sponsor for that project, the reason we're starting at numbers like 10K and 20K is because these are the numbers that have come to us in our conversations. And so we want to set some thresholds here. Obviously, there's some flexibility around that. And we're also looking for in-kind contributions too. So for example, we're discussing right now with the University of Illinois and Novartis around some research, around some resources to go do some red teaming research around LLMs. And so the cost right now, the actual cost would be something like 50K from Novartis is paying. So we're working on some on sort of a not-for-profit relationship with University of Illinois to possibly make that a zero cost, but that would be an in-kind contribution of some value. So they would get recognized at the appropriate value. So if it was 50K, for example, and then they would be sort of a gold sponsor recognition. So that's the approach that we're taking right now. I have talked with Dawn and talked with others. I talked with Steve Spriggett around what types of things we could potentially offer. We are also ramping up our own website to be more effective on sort of promotion and outreach. So we have a website that's in development that'll help us promote our sponsors more. And so that's in the works. So that's sort of the approach that we're looking to take around this. And I do know that there's been some work in the past around project funding, individual project funding. I know some of that's been rolled back. I think the approach that I want to kind of take forward is one where we're kind of budget forward kind of approach. So we're not just going out and asking for money for whatever reason. I believe you're more effective going ahead and being very targeted about what you're going to spend dollars on. So that's the end of my update. So questions, anyone?
So
Yes.
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Andrew?
I was just going to point out, Star, this is the sort of thing that we need for every project that wants to be sponsored. I do think that being clear on the project fundraising, like what the packages are, is really important.
I see.
Agree 100%. And that was actually I have a few thoughts here that I want to share, Scott. First
That'd
of
be
all,
awesome.
thanks for a lot for coming to us with this. This is a great model, and as Andrew said, this is I want to solve this twice. Yeah, solve it twice and no more than that. Once for your project right now, but also generically for all projects. Because as Andrew said, this is the approach we need. This is what we need for every project that does want to get higher levels of funding, and this is the way to go about it. A couple things though. A lot of several of the things that you mentioned that OWASP does not fund, we absolutely do. For example, website. There's no reason we would not fund that. There's a few other resources there that we have that we've talked to the projects committee in the past of saying, just tell us and come get this, and it's you tell the projects that this is available. You know, come get it. So I don't know if this is if this information got lost in transit or if it's something that just needs to be socialized better. But there's definitely stuff there that we can do right now without additional funding. Okay.
Yeah, and I
We're
think some of that's
sorry, good.
yeah, and I think some of that is I didn't completely capture, as I mentioned earlier, because I've had some subsequent conversations. So this is part of coming to the understanding of why doing a budget for me is important, because I can do what I, the term we often use is OPM, other people's money, or in this case, OWASP, people's money, or we can figure out whatever the acronym needs to be there. But there's that funding, that's that value that comes together, and the services that come together with that. And I think we just need to be explicit around what those are. And that way we have the funding that's going to go toward, let's say we need dev support for some work we made. For example, we're having some conversations about, do we take some of the LLM, output, and do we put that into a searchable database of some kind? So not that that's been approved as any kind of formal project, but those kind of as an example of where we might have other funding areas, so that we're focusing the funding on incremental as opposed to what's already there.
Okay. And you mentioned that there were discussions with possible sponsors. Do you have specific sponsors ready to go, ready to provide this level of funding, or are you looking for support on that, or what?
So I will never turn down support on finding sponsors and funding. Never say no. But we do have some that have started to reach out to us. We have a working list that I'm working in at reaching out to at this point, of folks who have put up their hand first. I have not formally rolled out the program on a broad basis until I got some final feedback from, I talked with Andrew about it. He said it'd be good to present it to this group. So, getting that final kind of, this is a good thing to go ahead and do. We'll crank that up. But right now it's been focused on our initial, I think there's been 10 companies who've asked about putting funding in. So just to give you an idea of that's the number that has directly reached out to us and said, how can we do this?
10 companies that have talked about this level of funding?
10K tends to be around where that funding is for them, yes.
That's fantastic. Andrew, have you discussed with him about the project partnership proposal that we were discussing previously?
Not really, no. But at the end of the day, basically, this is a much more fully fledged idea than the project partnership proposal. And if anything, I'd like to start a run with this one. I don't like confusing. If we're going to communicate with our corporate supporters, here's some things you might want to fund. Let's go with one program. This looks really good. It's relatively well fleshed out, and I'm happy for a start to take the information that Harold prepared on project partnerships and roll in the best ideas from it. But I do think Scott's proposal here is actually a lot better fleshed out and a lot more tangible than the project partnership program as it stands.
I don't mind merging them, but I think the framework for the partnership would actually make this a lot even stronger, right?
Yeah.
I mean, talking 10 or 20, we're talking about partnership. You can give us 10,000 and be a silver sponsor, give us 25,000 or 50,000, whatever we're talking about, and be a project partner. And it's very limited. Well, then that might push some of those 10 over to be funding a lot more.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna especially since I'm about to go on leave, I'm going to punt this to Star, and I'll make sure that she gets all of the project partnership stuff before I go on leave.
Great.
Thanks. And I asked in chat, but if I could get the deck for this would be super helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks.
Scott, have you heard about this idea of the project partnership?
So Harold sent me a document early on. It was a project partnership. It was a couple of page outline that he was working on. So if that's what we're referring to, then that's what I've seen. If it's fleshed out beyond that, then I have not seen it broader than that one page document.
The document is there, but Harold also prepared some slides which discussed it.
Okay. Yeah, and I think he sent me a link to the slides. So I think I went through both of those. And so I was recognizing that was when we talked about it, that was definitely in progress. And I was more trying to respond to understand kind of the framework where we're going and trying to respond to immediate interests in the best way possible. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. No complaints there. Do you have a specific ask from us for the board, or is this just sharing the progress?
Well, I think the ask was, I think in my conversations with Andrew as well as others, I think I shared some of this with Steve Briggett as well and Dawn, was just really kind of, is this something that's going to be a good approach? And does this make sense? Because there are always tweaks we can make, or not, right? So, but this is sort of the way that I think about these things.
Any other questions, anybody? Comments? All right. Thank you very much, Scott. I appreciate this. I would like to see this move forward because I think this is a great candidate I think it's a great candidate even to take the project partnership program and make it bigger, because I think we could make those numbers higher. If you're saying there's already interest from 10 companies to give 10,000, then some of them will have interest to give a lot more.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, Scott. I really appreciate you presenting today. I'll remove the agenda item from the May thing. Sorry for being so disorganized this last couple of weeks, but I do appreciate you presenting today at short notice.
No problem. I understand things have been a bit in flux with some of the resource shifts and that sort of thing. So
absolutely, no problems. Thank you. I'll get you in contact with Star and take it from there.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Our next topic is moving on, talking about corporate support benefits. Specifically, a motion from Sam. Sam, do you want to introduce it?
Yes, the motion is about provision of corporate supporters to provide. Well, it's about individual memberships, right? Individual membership benefits. As you know, we need to look at the various ways how to increase the individual memberships. We already have quite a few successful partnerships related to that, and I think basically what we're trying to do here is to make sure that we want to provide the ability for corporate supporters to provide benefits to our individual memberships, which will result in growing our individual membership numbers, and of course with a review and subject to OWASP approval. So that is the motion. Want me to read the motion, Avi? Or read it?
One more, just to be.
We discussed it during the JFK meeting, right? If you want to go back to the.
Just to be clear, the background. I want to add a bit on the background. The staff and specifically Kelly has the right to set what those benefits are for each level of corporate supporters. But because this is a strategic item, this is one thing that we would like to instruct staff to take this on and make this one change specifically. And the motion reads as follows. Resolve, the board directs the OWASP Foundation to provide any corporate supporters the ability to provide individual membership benefits subject to OWASP approval. Sam is sponsoring. I am seconding that. Any questions, comments, thoughts on this motion?
Who's doing the approval?
It is not, it is explicitly not specified in the motion. We will leave that to be operational. At this point, it will be Kelly, Andrew, consulting with board and or a membership committee, and if and when we have that available. But it is unspecified and it's operational.
Okay,
Does
I
that
have a
sound good?
question.
Yes, Ricardo.
So the way this reads, and I've read it a couple of times now, is that this isn't done now. Like this isn't possible to be done at present, or could this happen presently without us taking a vote?
At the moment, the corporate supporters need to be a gold member or above to be able to provide a member benefit. This motion instructs us to give it to all levels, not just that. At the end of the day, the board has decided this is well, not yet, but the board seems to want to have this as a strategic direction, and so therefore they're wishing to direct us.
Okay, so right now then, just so I'm clear, it only happens at a very specific level, and that's something we've self-imposed. So something that you've set down in policy or something, Andrew, or is it just the rule
No, it's
that
in the
you're
membership. It's in the corporate member packages. We were trying to drive more people to become gold and platinum level supporters, and make the offer sweeter for those levels. But the board has decided, or wishes to decide, that the packages should include this across the board. There are costs associated with running the corporate membership side of things. But again, the board gets to decide strategy and funding. And if we've got increased costs, so we've got increased costs.
Can I briefly reiterate, just a reminder for all present, that one of the things that was brought up previously by Kelly was that this is a very valuable member benefit to the corporate supporters because it is constituting significant leads, marketing leads, via our member base. So this is an extremely valuable benefit. It is one that is very attractive to potentially attracting to higher levels. So we could be harming our ability to attract higher level members because arguably one of the single most financially valuable benefits is being given to the lowest level. That was Kelly and my concern, and it remains our concern.
Thank you, Jason. That's a fair concern. I don't think it's wrong. I think it needs to be weighed in trade-off with attracting members, which it's also strategic. So these are both, I mean, I think they're both valid concerns, and they're both strategic, and we need to balance that.
And you will also remember from our surveying that we found that very few people were attracted by the individual member benefits. That's not to say there was no value being derived from them, but that was not the primary attractant either. So that also
Which means we need to improve those benefits.
Potentially,
It's
but it
where you're
also
reading the
means that we
statement.
need to lean into what people are being attracted by.
Kelly, you wanted to say?
I agree completely with Jason. I mean, I presented to you guys last month and explained my concerns and the value of this benefit. You know, we want to make the higher packages more enticing for companies to join. Offering it to a $5,000 corporate supporter, and who's to say that they won't come back the following year, renew with us, and they've collected however many leads throughout that year that this benefit was made available to them. It just coming up with benefits, obviously, that are valuable, that corporate supporters see valuable, is not the easiest thing. And then when we do, I just feel like you need a strategic of what packages to offer it for. what's going to make it more enticing for a company to pay us $10,000 more from a silver to a gold? And if they're all the same across the board, that there's no incentives.
So then I guess my question becomes, do we have anything that says and backs up you and Jason to say that the way it is now is working perfectly, or working the way that you want it to work?
I am seeing more and more companies joining OWASP at, I mean, we have we have a lot of silver, don't get me wrong, but more and more are joining at the gold and platinum level. This benefit, that benefit, and the job posting board benefit are two of the benefits that they seem to like right now. Now the benefit that they offer our individual members, that's something that obviously OWASP has to approve before we go and provide that to our members. So I am, I do make sure that before they join or sign anything, that they know, okay, I'm not joining as a gold and I can offer any benefit I want. No, you want to share that benefit with us, we will approve it before you go and sign anything. That way nobody's caught off guard.
Okay, so is there anything else that we can offer if we do decide to go this way that will entice people to get to those levels, the platinum and the gold?
Well, you mean companies, not people.
Companies, I'm sorry. Yes.
I mean, we've been brainstorming, Jason being new to the team, he's brainstormed. This is pretty much what we have right now with what we have to work with.
Yeah, if we move this, we are damaging our ability to bring on gold and platinum level. And I hear the concern about bringing on more individual members, but the problem is far more complicated than just sweetening the pot. We're in danger of, or should we not in danger? We are, our problem with how we approach membership is we are attracting people on the basis of it being some sort of subscription service, not on the merits of actually being a part of OWASP. I am discovering there is a very large untapped pool of people who would like to be part of OWASP who don't even realize that's an option. So before we start hamstringing our ability to raise a higher level of corporate support in pursuit of chasing down other members, we need to understand why we're not attracting other members first, because we don't have a full insight into that. And if we're just throwing more, razzle dazzle at them to hopefully get them to come in without understanding why we're not growing at the rate we want to, then all we're doing is actually harming another revenue stream.
Jason, have you started that effort as to finding that information out, why we're not attracting the members that we need at that level?
Yeah, and I have, and a big part of it is simply visibility, and that's something I've been working on with the outreach. There are a lot of people who are very interested in cybersecurity from the perspective of being developers without a cybersecurity background, who don't even realize that they can join. And it's a shock to them. I've had a number of conversations with people who immediately turned around and signed up on no more basis than, oh, cool, you mean I can join OWASP? So I'm going to go do that. They don't even care about the benefits. They just want to be a part of the community and they want to give back to OWASP. That is, I'm finding a very strong incentive. We need to lean into that, and we need time to lean into that, rather than just trying to lure them in with, what are in some cases very ephemeral benefits. Some of these corporate supporters will not renew. They'll be here for a year. They're going to get a bunch of leads and they're going to leave. And then people are going to feel like it's a bait and switch. Wait, I came for insert benefit here and now it's gone, and then we lose them too. If that's what we're attracting them by, if that's the only reason they show up, then as soon as the corporate supporter leaves, so does the member. We need to bring them in for more reasons than just for the razzle dazzle.
Of course, but it's an added value that we're talking about here. Oh, sorry, Matt, go ahead.
It's an added value, but we don't understand the core value yet.
I was just going to say, I'm a little concerned we're sacrificing a higher revenue option or a lower revenue option.
We're not, Matt, we're not, because the only change is that rather than displaying this as an option, saying if you want to provide a part of your platform to OWASP members as a benefit, you must be a bigger company, you must donate more. We're just saying no, because there are a lot of smaller companies which have very valuable platforms, which will be very valuable for our members to provide added value. and are perfectly aligned with our mission. And because of their size, because a lot of them are startups, they cannot go straight into the this particular requirement to do, because it's seen as the barrier. And we lost at least three partners because of that requirement. And I think our members are the ones who suffered. And to respond to Kelly's and Jason's things about leads, again, I need to say that this is a mutual thing, because don't forget that if companies want to collect leads, they can always offer their platform as a free trial or for free, and there will be always people signing up. This is not what it's about. It's about giving people access to the parts which are usually paid and are usually available to paid subscribers. So it's a very similar thing to how we use other platforms like Google or Slack. So it's an in-kind donation. So basically,
I don't know that you can. I don't know that you can really say that this is not damaging revenue stream. We are the people who are actually in this on a daily basis, Sam, are telling you that it is going to damage a revenue stream. So from the people who are dealing with it daily to the person who's dealing with it monthly, this is.
I got time. Jason, do you have?
Hey.
Back up. Silver corporate supporters at the startup level, the cost to join for an entire year is only $2,000 too. That's all we're getting out of the silver corporate startups is $2,000.
I'm gonna say, even if it was 5K, we just need one silver to replace 5 not silvers, or whatever the level is, right? If it's 25K to get in the door for this benefit,
it's
we need
15.
that multiplier of those others to disappear, or just one to be sold, and we've made up that ground. I mean, the differential is pretty significant in terms of pricing.
Yeah.
Kelly, I might point out that based on what you're saying, the startup shouldn't be silver; it should be a separate level. But that's a whole other discussion. Jason, do you have a number of, or Kelly, do you have a number of the sponsors of supporters that signed up to be gold specifically for that benefit?
I can definitely pull that for you, yeah, and I can send.
Anecdotally, do you remember off the top of your head any? Because we don't have a lot giving it right now.
Not right now, no. Some of them are going to be in. I know, like check marks had to kind of like go through a process with us if we approved it, and then we worked through that. I would say just recently, now that that benefit and the job board posting benefit has been added, probably about 5.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you.
At the 15 or higher.
Yeah, I do want to point out, and this might be a misalignment of expectations of the vendors, that the benefits they give are not really supposed to be benefits for the corporate employer, but for a personal benefit. Things like educational, things like we have a secure flag and code bashing, that is a great personal benefit. We've had other benefits in the past which didn't really align, because at a personal level, I have no interest in
This is why this motion is that we need to review to verify that it aligns with our mission.
Right, and Secure Flag is interesting because I learned recently that they did not provide their entire platform. In fact, some of the most valuable items for our members, such as threat modeling, our OWASP members have to pay additional fees to gain access to that. So they are upselling our members. They are benefiting from this financially. So that needs to be factored in.
That's what everyone's doing, but basically what they are providing is several levels more than whatever is available for free, right? So, and that is the whole idea. And I think every single vendor providing this this kind of platform, that's what they're looking for. Because if they were to provide the entire platform, because the entire platform costs much more than OWASP membership, and it also would indicate a significant expense on their side. But we have lost several very good platforms which were providing very good educational content, but because they were startups and they approached us and said, look, we are already paying huge amount of money to AWS out of our pocket to support the infrastructure to ensure that OWASP members can use our platform and learn how to code securely. And then, but because they are still a startup, they say we cannot, on top of this money that they're already paying, so say they're already paying 15, 20, 50 grand, whatever, in infrastructure fees to support all of our members, right?
Being cognizant, Sam,
that's
being cognizant of the time, I want to see if the other board members have other questions or input here.
Well, depending on how their SaaS service is offering, those may be fixed and spent costs. If you're offering a multi-tenant SaaS, you have a running expense to run it for the first customer that's not radically different than the 100th customer. Really.
Matt, we could barely hear before. Now we don't hear you at all. Probably lost you.
Good Lord, I hate this mic.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I heard some of the matters just trying to technically justify the things, but Matt, this is I think this is the problem is that it is framed. It's been very recently reframed as a benefit for corporate supporters, where it is actually what they're saying. It is a donation to be provided as an in-kind donation for individual.
Except Sam, that's literally not the case. We're literally hearing that there are at least 5 companies paying an extra $10,000.
Which are the larger companies, which are of course the companies which can
that
afford
they
it.
recognize the value of it and they're willing to put money to it. And the fact that the silver supporters are this frustrated about it indicates they also see financial value in it, because no one's going to fight this hard on company time for something that they don't
Jason,
have a
at
financial
DC,
benefit for.
there were hundreds of OWASP
Okay.
members asking me where are the 2 platforms which are gone, and I could say sorry, they're gone because of whatever policy change.
I'm sorry, I got to cut you off because we're really at time already. I don't know. We don't have time for more discussion here. I don't know that we have consensus
Do
for
you
the
want
vote.
to table this discussion for May?
That's exactly what I was going to suggest.
And the changes we're not asking to change the.
Sam, we don't have time for discussion now. I'm sorry. I think we need to table this for next month. I think we need more numbers on this, and I think we need more time for discussion. I thought it was straightforward, but it's not. I'd like to discuss it some more. That being said, I'd like to move to table this motion for now. Could I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Ricardo. We do need to vote on this, right? To table it?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Matt?
Yes.
The vote is to table this motion until next month's meetup.
Yep. And
Matt?
yes, I hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect now.
Yay.
Sam?
Yes, if we need a vote, but yeah.
Bill?
Yes.
Ricardo?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And a yes for me as well. That being said, Jason and Kelly, can you get back to us via email with some numbers on that, please, before next month's meeting?
Yes.
Andrew, please carry this on to the next one.
Yeah,
All right. Moving on then, as we are at time already, are there any other business we wanted to raise?
There's one other item that I think the board needs to discuss. Obviously, we don't have time in today's session, but that has to do with some of the work that Rob Vanderveer and others have done with establishing the OWASP Foundation as a liaison to some international standards agencies, organizations. So we need to discuss press, how we amplify this message. This is kind of a really big step for the OWASP Foundation.
Absolutely.
And it could have profound impact on some of their our flagship and production projects. The verification standards come to mind as well as some other things. So we need to talk seriously at the strategic level on how we can use this new position of the foundation within the European standards organizations and to advance some of our cybersecurity efforts, and how potentially this might overlap with some of the discussions that Andrew and I have had recently with the Eclipse Foundation.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Steve, that being said, can I ask you to throw some points in email, a follow-up on this via email for now? And I think we should tag some time for the Lisbon in-person meeting, assuming that's happening, for extended discussion on this as well. And I'm going to throw something, another brainworm at you, Steve. Perhaps we need a committee to drive this forward.
A committee? Oh,
well, we do actually have a project committee already. But if it's more about an outreach to the standards committee, then getting the outreach committee stood up again would be a good thing.
I don't think
I've got one person. I've got one person interested in outreach and marketing, but this, I don't know, this might be,
I feel like standardization is a whole other bag of worms.
I think you might be right,
Maybe take
but
it
we
to
need
the
to
glo-
discuss it first.
Yeah, there's a thread on the global board list. Maybe just continue the discussion
Yep.
there. And
Yep, we'll do.
I know that 4 of us are going to be at the RSA. Maybe there might be some time that could be carved out to have a bit of a off the table discussion there.
Sure. Andrew, before you go on vacation, I'd appreciate if you could throw us some details on when you want to swear and when.
Yeah.
For all those things.
Once I get the t-shirts, I will tell you what to wear.
All right. Where physically, not what to wear. But yes. All right. That being said, since we're about at the hour, I'm going to point out our next board meeting is May 28th.
Oh, there's an
12
executive
p.m.
session. Is that going to still happen?
Good question. I could only stick around for a few minutes for that. Executive session? Executive session? Executive
Yes.
session? All right. So let's adjourn the public meeting and switch over to executive session. It's moved and seconded to adjourn. Do we have a
Yes.
second to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you, Steve. It is moved and now it is seconded to adjourn. Those in favor say aye.
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 All right. Thank you all very much for joining. Board and Andrew, please stay around for a few minutes.